Hi, in this video, we are going to go over the joint tenancy in New Jersey. Mainly, it is like, let me write down that. So it's called joint tenancy. Now, let's assume there is a house. We'll put that house. Let me see if I can build that properly. Is the door and the window, maybe some grass, and maybe there is some other property is here, and let's create a driveway. Okay, and this is the door, or this is the house. Now think about, this house is owned in joint tenancy. The joint tenancy is that carries with the survivorship, and so which means that if there are two owner, A and B, or let's add a C, okay, so that we will make it a right. So if you create a joint tenancy between these two, okay, first thing is they have to be created at the same time. So let's think that they did that in January 2015. They create this joint tenancy, okay, and they are equally. So this whole thing, their ownership is like 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3, right? Let me write it properly. 1/3. Okay. Now, what happens is the unit that these has to be at the same time. So this has to be the unity of time. Okay, and they have to be written in their title. Okay, and they equally should have the equal interest. That means 1/3 of the property, they have to be their they have to have the interest. So I can say interest. Okay, and also they have to present there, like they have to possess. Okay, they have to possess there in order to be part of the joint tenancy. Okay, so think about, they are all equal, they're staying there. And now, as I said, let me select a different color. This joint tenancy is the key concept is right of survivorship. So this is right of survivorship. Okay, so as long this all A, B, C, all of them are living, are possessed there in this house, they are having a joint tenancy. Now imagine or think about that. It is in case of, let's say, if C dies. Okay, if one of that dies, so let's put that in the red. Typically this is putting that it is a bad thing to happen, but let's for the sake of this video, we'll say that C dies. What will happen is, it is automatically in New Jersey, A and B will be remain in joint tenancy with instead of 1/3, okay, they will become like half in there. It will be the half ownership, and they will still remain in the joint tenancy. Okay, there are a lot of limitations of having the joint tenancy, like you cannot really sell the house, and so what will happen is, let's say in joint tenancy, the heir cannot say, in case of C died, the heir, let's say C has an heir, so C1, maybe his or her son or kids, they cannot get the ownership, because that's the limitation, or that's how the joint tenancy works, and they have no ownership in this case. Whereas A and B, let's say even if B dies, then the A will have 100% ownership on the property. And if A dies, then the heir, the heir of A, like the kids or whoever is the heir of A, will be the owner of the house or the property. Okay, so I hope this is making sense. And so let me see how or what all the right of survivorship and how that actually goes, and if at all you wanted to include somebody else, let's say D, another person, into the tenancy, it is not possible. If at all, let's say C wants to sell the house, it is possible that C has full rights, but what will happen is, say if A is here, B will still in this joint tenancy, but D will be coming as tenancy in common. So it is not going to be so the A and B, let's say, will be 1/3 and 1/3. Okay, and they okay, let's change the color so that it will be easy to understand. Okay, so D is coming here as and D is let's say C is buying, let's say, given a different situation here, still with C is still with joint tenancy with A and B, and they have 1/3 equal, or 1/3 each of them owns, and let's say C sell that to D, okay, with some dollar. And now D is not going to enter into the joint tenancy. Okay, A and B still are in joint tenancy with 1/3 and 1/3, but D's is going to be, so the partnership between A, B and D will be these, the A and B will be with joint tenancy, okay, with joint tenancy, whereas the partnership with D is going to be tenancy in common. Okay, now what happens is, if let's say B dies, okay, if B dies for some reason, A will be automatically be the owner of 2/3 of the property, but D is not going to be getting that. D is still owns only 1/3 of the property. Okay, and because there is a joint tenancy, automatically transfer the ownership based on the survivorship. So because A and B still in joint tenancy, if B dies, A will get the become the owner of the B's part, or B's owner, and then A will get to become the owner of 2/3 of that house, of that property. Now what will happen is, if A dies here, heir of A, okay, will get, let's say if A die, then the heir of A, let's say A1, is going to be the owner of 2/3. Okay, whereas if C will always have the heir, because, or sorry, the D will always have the heir. Okay, D will always have the heir if D1, okay, because this is the tenancy in common, which by definition can have heirs. Okay, so this is how joint tenancy works in New Jersey.